If you feel like you never have quite enough energy, like you need more energy, there is a constant low level of exhaustion following you around, then let me tell you something. You're probably not exhausted because you're doing too much. And you're also not exhausted because you didn't get enough sleep. You're not exhausted because there is a lack of motivation, and also definitely not because there's something wrong with you. The reason why you're exhausted is most likely the same that I had. It's because you carry something that's not yours. You subconsciously feel responsible how everyone else is feeling. You subconsciously are proving, compensating, and taking on weight that is not yours. I've done this my whole life, and I see this in so many people. And especially if you are someone who is constantly holding space for others, a parent, a coach, a healer, a therapist, a teacher, then this message is for you. This low level energy, this constant feeling of light exhaustion, this is something I've lived in my own nervous system for decades, subconsciously proving, compensating, and most of all, carrying weights of others that is not mine, and feeling responsible how everyone else feels. In my case, and with most people, it started very early in childhood. Although I grew up in a very loving home, my father struggled with depression. My mother had 4 kids, so she was very often overwhelmed and exhausted, and also trained herself, but she didn't do the same work like I do. Anyway, they were very loving, they did the best they could. However, I never felt emotionally safe in this environment at home because there was heaviness, there was sadness, outbursts, and I took it on as a very sensitive child. So I never felt emotionally safe. And then I started doing something what every sensitive child is doing without realizing it, obviously. I became hypersensitive and very, very attuned into other people's emotions. So whenever I would step into a room, I needed to check everyone else's emotion. I needed to scan if there is an outburst coming, if there is something dangerous. And I picked up all the unspoken tensions, like my safety depended on it. So that's exactly what highly sensitive people and empaths do. But, I never tried to fix something consciously, but subconsciously. I took it on silently in a very subtle level. I always felt responsible. I thought it was mine. My mother's overwhelm, my father's depression, my siblings' struggle. I always thought it was my fault and I'm responsible for these feelings. As a result of that, I became the good girl and the unproblematic child, trying to balance out every emotion. For example, trying to make my father laugh when he was sad or when I felt like a disharmony. All I wanted was harmony, and I did anything I could to make it, but to try to make it, of course. But not because I knew I was doing that, but because there was a part of me that believed if everyone is okay, then I will be okay. Then I will be safe. It's my responsibility how everyone else is feeling, and I need to create this harmony around me because only then I feel safe. I have to do it. And yes, of course, this is a survival strategy and one I took into my adult life where I was still scanning and adjusting and balancing out and trying to hold emotional balance for everyone around me. and feeling responsible if there was a disharmony or someone not feeling good or heavy feelings. So, yeah, totally survival strategy. And here's the thing, when I'm in a survival mode, there is no space for creation, only for coping and reacting and trying to stay safe. So, no wonder why I was feeling constantly stuck, because I always did way more than I was aware of. And that's very exhausting. As I began to do the deep inner work on myself, I started to realize that this constant feeling of exhaustion or having not enough energy was there for a reason. It was rooted in very deep patterns I'd been carrying for years. And of course, I was blind to them. So they lived in my body long, long before I recognized that they are here, long before I had words for them. And now I see the same patterns in so many brilliant people I work with over and over and over again. And here are the three most intense patterns I see in people who feel low energy or often exhausted. So the one is you proving that you are not enough. And of course, you're not aware of that. So I spent years trying to prove that I was enough without having an idea that I was doing that. I was blind to that. It was subconscious. And I always tried to do more, to try harder, to be better, without realizing I was carrying a deep belief within me that said, I'm not good enough. And it's, of course, super exhausting and draining. And here's the thing that most of us miss, I missed it for so long. Every time when I proved the opposite, I actually reinforced the belief itself. So when I try to prove that I'm good enough, that must mean that I'm not good enough. So you might be doing everything with a quiet subconscious tension inside, like thinking maybe, okay, if I just do it a little bit better, then I will finally feel or know or prove that I'm enough. But even this sentence implies that you don't feel enough right now. And when that belief is running the show, then we don't just do our task, we don't just show up, but we perform. We over deliver, we try to make everyone around us proud, and we try to become perfect in order to prove that we are enough. But by constantly proving that you are enough, by constantly proving your worth, this doesn't heal the wound, it deepens it. Because if we believed that we are enough, why would we need to prove it? So, the second pattern I observe in so many people and that lived within me subconsciously, that drains a lot of energy, is compensating for fear. And this one lived for me for a long, long time, decades. And it wasn't that I was just doing things again, but I was also compensating. So afraid that if I failed, that I would confirm the deeper fear that I was a failure and, of course, that I wasn't enough. So you might be compensating too because you are terrified of what failure might mean. The pain of feeling unworthy or feeling unlovable, the confirmation that I'm not enough. Fear of rejection. So again, we strive for perfection. And when you strive for perfection, you overperform and you overgive. And underneath that all, there is this subtle subconscious pressure, a drive to avoid that unbearable feeling to all costs. Not because you're broken, but because some part of you is still trying to protect you from pain. And that kind of internal weight may be invisible, but it's deeply, deeply exhausting. And the third subconscious pattern that's draining your energy is when you're carrying around what's not yours. So, this one is especially common for empaths and highly sensitive souls like me and like maybe you. You're not just exhausted because of what you're doing. You're exhausted because you're carrying emotions, energy, and responsibility that were never meant to be yours. For so long in my life, I couldn't really understand why it was so draining and exhausting for me being in crowded places or groups of people. Because I really love people, I'm really fascinated by them, and I thought I would love to be around them. But I always felt so drained and I avoided it by all costs to not be in crowded places. So, why did I prefer always to be alone or maybe maximum with one or two other people at a time? And maybe you felt it too and you wonder the same. Now I understand why. And the reason is when I was surrounded by many people, I was subconsciously scanning the room like I did as a child, absorbing emotions and feeling responsible for how everyone else felt. So if someone was upset, I'd feel it. If someone was tense, I'd feel it. If someone was angry, I'd feel it myself. And without even realizing it, I was trying to manage all the energies as if they were my own. And that's very exhausting if you are around with many people because you scan the whole room and you really look for how everyone else is feeling and you will pick up the one feeling that is the heaviest. If you go in a room and everyone is happy and one person is super sad, you will pick up that and you will try to balance it and taking it on. You feel it. So that's very exhausting. But through the deep inner work that I did and slowly dissolving the belief that I'm not good enough, I started to understand something really important that I was never meant to hold it all. I'm not responsible how everyone else is feeling, and neither are you. I realized that the most loving thing I can do, and you too, is to trust others to do their own inner work. Not because we don't care, but because it's not ours to carry. And when we stop absorbing and start trusting, we also give the others the space to find their own strength. And that's the greatest gift we could do instead of taking it on ourselves. So we then stop disempowering them by taking on what was never ours. And we loosen the grip of that old painful belief that it was all ours to fix. And to speak from me personally, that shift, that waking up, was one of the most freeing of my life. And I'm sure this everyone who does the work and who is finally free from this burden feels the same liberation like I did. And also to make clear, again, this is not something all of us are aware of. This is something that happens subconsciously. So that's why it doesn't make sense also to just talk about it and talk about all, the patterns and things and issues that come up with it, but really going deep and becoming curious about why. What is there going on? What's the deep rooted inner belief? And where does it come from? Where did you learn and take on this responsibility and this burden that you carry around and that makes you feel exhausted? And once you have that, and once you free yourself from that, that's a totally different way of energy you have available then for things you really want to do. And then you can really help people with all your energy. That shift, that waking up for me was truly one of the most freeing of my life. And I'm sure it frees something in you too. Because when you stop carrying around what was never yours, your energy is finally available to you, all your energy. So I hope this message was helpful for you. I'd love to hear what landed most. Please like and subscribe to support my channel and share this message with someone who might need it today. And if you're ready to shift these patterns at the root, gently, deeply, I'm here to support you. Just get in contact and let's have a conversation. I'm sending you so much love and see you next time.